Good evening, everyone. Welcome you to tonight's meeting. I just want to let everyone know that Mr. Silverstein is with us this evening via Zoom. So we welcome Mr. Silverstein, and let's rise for comments from Mr. Abbatiello, please.
With today being the start of Black History Month, the teacher in me felt it only fitting to begin tonight's meeting with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with words that fit for many of the issues facing the town and the nation today. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Say the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone stays safe and dry during this wintry weather we're having. I'll take a motion for the approval of the minutes from our January 19th meeting.
Motion.
I move the minutes be approved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Mr. Mayor.
Just a couple of things, Mrs. Cook. One, the presentation to the Scott family tonight will have to be at the next meeting when we're not able to get a hold of anyone in due time. The continuity of operations that was due to expire today, we're letting it expire, not renewing it, so it's no longer in effect. And then last week, Ron, Engle, and myself had met with the Easton Club East folks, and one of the questions that they gave us was a issue about zoning requirements for downtown and the rehab of upper story buildings. And one of those, strangely enough, was the same thing that Mrs. Wilson had a couple weeks ago when she was up here, that we haven't reached a conclusion on yet. So it's not just a one issue, it's several people that have the same concerns about parking in the downtown. And if we really are going to develop any of the upper story buildings, then that's something that we've got to solve. So we're still working on Mrs. Wilson, and we've still got a couple of others that we're working on. And with that, that's what I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mayor Willie this evening? All right, thank you, Mayor Willie. Chief Spencer for the Police Board.
Good evening, Mrs. Cook, Council, Mayor. I hope all of you had the opportunity to review my agenda that I sent to you. So in the expertise of time, I'd like to waive my time before you unless you have some questions for me regarding my report, because I have some people here tonight a lot more interesting to listen to and to look at than I. So unless you have any questions for me, at this time I'd like to introduce Lieutenant George Paul, who is in charge of our K-9 program and our drone program for the Easton Police Department, and we have some of the members here tonight to meet with you.
Chief, I just have one quick question,
Sure.
and I appreciate your agenda that you had sent out. One of the issues I know we've spoken about a number of times, and it's recurring, is recruitment and retention of police officers. We have some open positions down at the police department. I was just wondering, what actions are being taken to try to promote employment here at the town within the police department?
Well, as I've told you before, recruitment is a nationwide program. It's not just here in Maryland or here on the Eastern Shore. It's nationwide. I've spoken to a lot of my contemporaries around the state of Maryland, and a lot of us are concerned. Like many other professions out there, there are a limited number of pool of people that want to do the job. The nursing profession, the teaching profession are two other examples I know that are struggling nowadays to find people that want to get into that profession, and unfortunately, we're in the same position. Over the years, I've seen the pendulum swing back and forth where we get 40 and 50 applicants, can't hardly run them out the door, and then it comes back and we're not getting any, and unfortunately, we're in the downturn right now. I think that we have done as much as we can as far as getting our name and our brand out there. We use all the means of social media that we're aware of. We go through the newspaper, we visit colleges, job fairs. We've talked to Ocean City in the past about, there are seasonal officers that they train down there that may be looking for full-time employment. So a lot of it just comes back to the individual applicant, whether or not they want to be a police officer, two, whether they meet the qualifications. As I've told you before, the state of Maryland is way ahead a lot of the states when you read information over the IACP, National Association of Police Chiefs. You see other states are saying, well, we need to have our applicants go through a polygraph examination, or they need to have a drug screen, or they need to have this, or they need to have that. Maryland is way ahead of the game in doing it. They have professionalized police work a long time ago. So that reduces the pool as well. So the best thing that we can do is make ourselves the best. How we do that, I'm open to suggestions, willing to work with anybody that has ideas, but when you're looking for somebody that wants to get a job on the Eastern Shore, typically that's where our applicants come from, and there are about 15 different agencies on the shore that we're competing with for these very same applicants. When they start looking around, they're going to start comparing, is this a place I want to live? Is this a community I want to work in? What type of workload, caseload, calls for service do they have? Are they busy or are they not busy? What opportunities do they have for me when I get there to, expand my role? Is there things for me to get into, like the canine you're going to see tonight, or bike patrol, or become a detective or a narcotics investigator, and all those kinds of things. And then they look at the benefit package, and these applicants today are primarily looking at how much you're going to pay me, will you give me a car, what kind of retirement you're going to give me. Those are driving factors right now. Back in the day, a lot of people went into the fire company, went into police work, became nurses because they wanted to help other people. They wanted to make a difference in their community. I don't know if that value is still out there or not. I don't know. So we just need to work cooperatively together, unfortunately, and try to think outside the box. What can we do to encourage people to come here and keep our applicants? Unfortunately, a lot of those ideas are going to come at a cost. So we're going to need the help of the council, what ideas you think that sound good and that we should move forward with and we're able to afford. I try to keep it short.
You did. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Spencer before Sergeant Paul comes up?
All right, at this time I'll introduce Lieutenant Paul.
Thank you. Sorry, Lieutenant.
Good evening. Like the chief said, I oversee the K-9 division, also our newly formed unmanned aerial systems unit that we started recently. But more importantly, I'm also the patrol commander. So I'm fortunate enough to oversee these units. I also have the tactical unit and negotiators as well, and accident reconstruction under my command. Today is the first police board meeting since our K-9 unit is fully established. Back in 2017, we had some misfortunes that we had to overcome, and doing so, we revamped our entire division. When I say revamped, from the point of how do we train our dogs, how do we select our dogs, how do we select our handler, our rules and regulations, we completely hit the reset button. And in doing so, we came to the conclusion that we had to retire two dogs, and we had to purchase 4 brand new dogs. We only had 2 at the current level, so we increased our staffing. So now we have 1 dog on each patrol squad. So it makes the town safer, and we're also getting some of the drugs and stuff like that off the street. So in doing so, I reached out to the Maryland State Police. A good friend of mine is the commander for that unit. He was willing to help us out, and also reached out to Mark Carr, who currently does our monthly dog training, the maintenance training on those dogs. They train 2 days a month. So reaching out to the state police, it takes an undertaking to train these dogs. They go from anywhere, depending on if it's a dual purpose or a single purpose dog, anywhere from 26 weeks to 16 weeks of continuous training, Monday through Friday. They do work some nights that they do training in. So the state police agreed to help us in doing that. We were probably one of the first agencies that they decided to take on that burden of actually helping us, and it worked out in our favor. Saved us a lot of money, valuable money, training these dogs. We were taking trips to Florida to buy the dogs, take trips to Connecticut to purchase dogs. So today I just wanted to recognize the state police and have a proclamation given to them, and in light of them helping us. And then I want to go through and introduce the handlers and the dogs to you tonight. Reverend Davis, are you?
Yep.
Okay. Sergeant Boyce?
Sure. So here's a proclamation from the city of Easton and the mayor. Whereas the primary mission of the K-9 unit is to provide the Maryland State Police and allied agencies specialized K-9 support to assist them in their mission of protecting both life and property of citizens of the state of Maryland. Whereas this is achieved by advancing the primary purpose of the police service K-9, which is to locate, indicate whether it's for narcotics, explosives, or people wanted for either criminal acts of those reported missing. And whereas the appreciation is extended to the Maryland State Police for their assistance for the time spent assisting the Easton Police Department with the K-9 unit, evaluating, reviewing operations, selections, handlers, and K-9 policies. And whereas the Easton Police Department K-9 unit has been fortunate to have the willingness of the Maryland State Police to assist them in all places of the rebuild of their K-9 unit, and will be forever grateful for their support. The Easton, now therefore I do hereby tender this proclamation to the Maryland State Police K-9 unit and extend appreciation to those of the town council and all our citizens. And we want to thank you on behalf of the city of Easton for your willingness to work with our police department here in the town of Easton.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
Just on behalf of the Maryland State Police, we'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to be able to train these dogs as handlers. I know we've learned a lot with the process, and I think that the relationships that we've developed over the past couple of years will strengthen the K-9 units in the state. So thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so the first dog you're going to meet and handler is POC Tindall. He handles Kato, who is right now probably a 3-year-old German Shepherd.
You bringing them in here?
They attended 26 weeks of training in their initial assignment. They're trained in obedience, narcotics detection, area searches, building searches, tracking, aggression control, and they're certified through the North American Police Work Dog Association. So that's Kato.
Keep
Thank you, Kato, for your service. Thank you, Officer Tindall.
I think he wants to go back out that way. There's another dog over there. So, see, the reason he's kind of like that, so when he goes into a building, he thinks he's going to do some work. So he's looking for what's going on. You'll see the same with Murphy as well. So Tink, that's what we call Tindall, Tink. So he named his dog Kato. Joey and I, when we were in the process of obtaining the next 3 dogs, we were talking about how we would name them, how we would do something in response to you're naming them after somebody. So we decided, I don't know, okay. So we decided, if you guys ever saw the Navy SEAL movie Lone Survivor, 3 Navy SEALs were killed in that mission. So we decided the next 3 dogs we were going to name after those Navy SEALs in recognition of their service. So this right here is Murphy. We call him Murph. So he's named after Michael Murphy, who was the Navy SEAL that ended up dying in that action in Afghanistan and was awarded the Medal of Honor. We put together this little picture with Lieutenant Mike Murphy, his bio and the dog's bio, and this hangs in the police department as well as Kato's and that. So Murphy is 2 years old. Him and Joey were partnered. They attended 16 weeks of training in Montgomery County. They also trained in obedience, area searches, tracking, building searches, aggression control, narcotics. Once Murphy graduated there, he came back, and then Mark Carr, who's here. You want to stand up, Mark? Like I said, he does our monthly training. He also finished Murphy's patrol training and also imprinted him on drugs. So he got his drug training through Mark's business. So that's Murphy.
Oh.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Murphy, for your service.
Lieutenant, what is that thing on his neck?
Oh, yeah, it's a shock collar.
Yeah, yeah.
So they can beep it,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they can give them a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, we got Dietz. Yeah.
Just hold on to him.
So the next dog is Dietz.
Okay.
She's handled by Anthony Cullings. She's named after Daniel Dietz, who was a Navy SEAL that lost his life in that battle in Afghanistan. Danny Dietz was given the Navy Cross for his sacrifices, losing his life in that conflict. So Dietz is a single-purpose dog. She's trained on narcotics only. We obtained her from Florida, Southern Coast Canine. She's about 1.5 years old. Her and PFC Cullings attended the Maryland State Police narcotics school that was 16 weeks, and they are also certified through the North American Work Dog Association.
I think I probably asked this, but what's the lifespan of these dogs as far as working?
So typically we can, on the high end, what would you say, Mark, 7 years?
7 to 9 years.
7 to 9 years, the dog's health plays a role in that.
I think she's got her eye on Engle.
Now, you can pet her, she's not trained to any of that kind of stuff, but when she's in her car, she really protects her car, so the mayor pulls up one day and she scares him and he comes in like, man, that dog, I'm like, that's not even the dog that's trained about.
I just brushed against the car. Wow.
Oh, you're good.
Well, I won't comment on how calm she is, but thank you, Dietz, for your service. Being the only girl.
So K9 Axe, she's paired with PFC Bayne. She's 1.5 years old. They graduated their school with the Maryland State Police on December 15th. She's also certified in narcotics. She was named after Matthew Axelton. His nickname was Axe. He was a Navy SEAL that was also killed in that battle in Afghanistan, and he was also given the Navy Cross, the second highest award. But these two, they trained with the Maryland State Police for 16 weeks, and she's the newest canine on the force. That's Axe.
All right. Thank you, Axe, for your service.
No.
They don't try to bring them together. I mean, they are together at training on some days, but they're kind of distant depending on their temperament. You good?
Good. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Lots of energy, which is good. So moving on to our next unit, like I said, that our unmanned aerial system is better known as a drone program. Sergeant Troms is a supervisor. We have 5 trained pilots. They took their Part 107 to become pilots of a drone. They also attended 2 days of extensive training with Mission Go. Give you a little bit of background on Mission Go. You can look up on the website. We partnered with them. They helped us get our certifications through the FFA, our airspace waiver, plus our waiver in order for us to fly at night. They train these officers in flying tactically, safely. So we have five pilots, and our primary mission, and the reason for doing this is, sometimes calling the Maryland State Police out when you need, an eye in the skies can sometimes be a little expensive, or the aircraft's tied up on a medical mission. So our primary functions for this is support of officers that are deployed on emergency situations, any large-scale tactical operations, perimeter, search and rescue to assist in locating missing persons. So if we were to have an escapee or a foot pursuit, also evidence searches, containment of a perimeter, also scene documentation. If we're at the crime scene, we can document it. If we're at a collision scene, any type of major investigation or even disaster management. And then also training. They'll train on their days on, so we don't have to designate a specific training day for them to do that. They also have a web-based platform called Alaris Pro. That before every flight, they log in everything about the flight. They check their weather. They check the maps. It'll alert us if there's maintenance that needs to be done on this aircraft. If the pilot doesn't have his required flights, it keeps track of their licensing and all that stuff. So this is the actual aircraft right here. It does have FLIR capabilities, so it does have thermal. It will be able to see at night. That's why the FAA approved us for a night flight.
And the range on that?
So the range, right now, what we typically do is it's in line of sight, but you can see this aircraft at night with the beacon on at probably about a mile or so away.
DNR also uses these, right?
There are some other agencies in the state of Maryland that use it. Howard County, I'll go to a work group session with Howard County. Lennox and I have both been over there. They have a UAS program as well. So that's about it. Any questions on this little aircraft?
Impressive.
So we're going to do an inaugural flight. It'll be our first flight. They've flown these in training, but we have not flown them on a police mission. We're going to do an inaugural flight. I've met with Michael Risher at the airport. So he's going to be, when we make our notifications to them and stuff like that. So he's on board. We're all super excited about this program. So we want to invite you guys, if you would like to attend, this will be February 3rd at 10:30 at the Sheriff's Office parking lot. Michael Risher will be there. We're going to go through. So in town, it's gridded out on a map. There's what you call 9 zero blocks. So in a zero block, when you're close to airport, you have to call the FFA's Special Operations Group, basically, and tell them, hey, we want to fly a law enforcement mission. This is where we're at. We give them the lats and longs. They're like, okay, we'll notify the tower. So we essentially don't have to notify the tower, but we've worked out an agreement. We're going to notify the tower so it's a little bit quicker. So that's the only time that we have to notify the tower if we're in that zero block, which is right close to the airport. So if we're going to fly here, we just go ahead and fly, log everything in, and so forth. Now, if we have a mishap and have an accident, then we have to report that to the FAA, just as if it was a regular aircraft. So these guys, like I said, the 5 of them, they did all their studying and all that stuff on their off-duty time, and put in a lot of work to get this program up to where it is right now. And so we'll have our first inaugural flight, and then we'll be in operation.
Wonderful.
With that, I don't have any more, unless anybody has any questions for me or anything.
Does anyone have any questions for Lieutenant Potts? threw a lot at us tonight between the canine and the drone, and it's quite impressive.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff.
Yep.
So,
So I'm back. I just want to conclude my portion of the program. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Lieutenant Paul's dedication to the department and what he has done to get our K-9 program up and running and to manage it. It is well respected. Obviously, the Maryland State Police, every one of our people that goes through the program can't talk highly enough about our people. In fact, I think they've even threatened to try to steal them. But no, each one of these people for the K-9 and for the drone program are all volunteered to get into this. They don't necessarily volunteer the time, but they have volunteered a lot of time. It takes them away from their families. They're subject to be called out at any time. You know, we go out and help the allied agencies around the county. We've been going as far as Carolina and other places, particularly, you know, depending on the call and what needs to be done. So, you know, I keep telling you that your officers are good officers, and I wanted you to start meeting some of them and see some of the things that they do to keep the community safe. But I wanted to thank Lieutenant Paul, you know, for his hard work and dedication, and all of those that volunteered. And the drone program is difficult, at the very least. It is very, very hard to get through that. These guys and gals did spend a lot of time studying and to pass that test. Not everybody passed it, so that's also a feather in their cap. So I hope you come out for the program when we have it and watch the inaugural flight and get to meet everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Richardson, that's a tough act to follow.
I was going to say, you know, and I'm not even going to attempt to try, other than I'm going to continue to add on to that. So if any of our viewers out there are interested in law enforcement and you want to join the fun that we're having at the Easton Police Department, we are recruiting. So I'll take a stab at that. Other than that, I have nothing for this evening, President Cook and Council.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Richardson tonight? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Van Emberg?
I'm not going to try to follow that either, so I have nothing for this evening.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Van Emberg tonight? All right. All right, next we have the resolution number 6128, a resolution of the town amending the Town of Easton Employee Handbook related to compensated absences, specifically overtime as compensatory time and vacation. This resolution has been on our agendas for a bit. I know personally I'm not ready. I still have some questions. I'm not ready to vote, but I do want to bring this to a vote, gentlemen, for the next meeting. I know I received comments still today from employees. I think a clean version went out, so thank you for that. There was a lot of, you know, the last few versions, we had a lot of comments in there, so I appreciate the clean version going out. But gentlemen, do you have any comments related to the resolution tonight?
I want to thank the mayor and Mr. Richardson again for listening to the town employees and for taking into consideration what they said, and I look forward to voting on it at the next meeting.
Next, we have a continuation of the public hearing on ordinance number 756, which proposes to amend the Town Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 28 of the Town Code to add the definition of a home improvement center to Section 28-114 and revise the supplemental standards for the use major retail to exclude home improvement centers from the maximum size limitation applicable to major retail uses. So this is still a continuation of the public hearing. If any comments, anyone from the public has any comments related to this before we close the public hearing and call a vote tonight? Just anyone who's interested in commenting, just please come to the front, state your name and address.
Good evening, council, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Pete Lesher, 215 South Hanson Street, right here in town. I've spoken with some of you. I've written to all of you, so I'll beg your indulgence in appearing before you tonight, but I just wanted to further elaborate a little bit on the written comments that I submitted. To the effect that Easton has a sound rule. And there are good reasons for that rule concerning the location of big boxes in our community. And I said in my written commentary that the co-location of big boxes with smaller retailers necessarily has a beneficial effect to those smaller retailers. And linking those two in the rule, requiring them to be co-located, is something that does help our smaller businesses. And I'd hate to see that advantage lost in a rule change here. The second is really that principle of encouraging redevelopment. I think we do have a sense that Easton is overbuilt with retail space, and while we don't have an empty big box, there are developments in this, there are retail spaces in this community that are ripe for redevelopment. And the rule as it stands encourages redevelopment into those spaces rather than the breaking of new ground for new development. And with those sound reasons for the rule, I would just encourage you to stick by your guns, to ensure that ultimately this applicant, this interested retailer will come back to the table, will come with a more compelling proposal, will come with a more compelling location for it, that really on principle, we shouldn't change the rule book for one potential applicant. That smacks of picking winners and losers. And that just doesn't seem the right way to govern. And I thank you for your service. I miss serving with all of you and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher.
You hear me okay? My name is Lori Forster. I've been a resident of Easton in the Mulberry Station development for 15 years, well, in town for 16 years. My development is adjacent to the property that you're considering making the exception to. So of course, it's important to a lot of us. I think you may have heard. Hopefully, I tried to rally the troops to get my neighbors to speak out their concerns or thoughts either way to you. So hopefully you heard from them. I am against the exception for a lot of the reasons that Mr. Lesher put forth. We have a process called the comprehensive plan. I've just read the one from 2010, never thought I'd be doing that. And I understand a lot more about the comprehensive plan now, that it's community involvement that really is to drive that plan. And we have a saying in our house, stick to the plan. And so I guess I'm asking you to stick to the plan. The plan does not allow for this size or this type of business in that spot. I won't debate the effects that it might have on our neighborhood because I know that's not the issue at hand tonight, but I am concerned. We've already seen effects from the development on Route 50 with Tractor Supply and the hotel and other things, noise, trash, people coming through our neighborhood as a cut through. It's concerning to a lot of us, but I know that's not the issue tonight. The issue is whether we make this exception to change and allow for the home improvement. Again, the plan, the new comprehensive plan is starting this year. So why are we rushing this when the new plan will come forth, it will have community involvement. And I think a lot of us have moved here and love living here, whether you've done it from the beginning or you've moved here because it's a nice small town environment to raise our children and live. And I would hate to see us make this exception here, make an exception there, and we've all seen communities where that's been done, and they're maybe not places where we want to live. And so I want this to be thoughtful. I want there to be community involvement. We're in a pandemic, and we really have only had a couple of weeks to get the word out and let people talk to you. I mean, I would love to fill this room with every one of us 153 homeowners to have a vigorous debate, but people are afraid to come out, or my older residents. And so I feel like it's not the right time. We're embarking on a new plan. Let's stick to the plan we have. And if the plan changes in the new plan, then so be it. If that's what our community wants, then maybe there are other properties that could be considered too. But if that's what we all want, then that's the way it will go. I just want us to have a chance to work the plan, make the plan together. So I think I hit all my points there, and I just thank you for letting me share my thoughts. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cook. Zach Smith on behalf of the applicant. And obviously, I presented our position last time. I won't reiterate all those things. But I just wanted to touch, I appreciate these comments this evening. And I know the council's gotten a number of other letters and communications, and there's been a lot of discussion on social media. And I just think that illustrates the point that there's a lot of feelings on both sides of this issue. And so that's the reason that we're here asking for you to allow a plan to come forward and have a very public process and a public discussion, and pack this room with people that feel strongly on both sides, but in the context of an actual plan, not in the abstract. And so for those reasons, I mean, we just hope that the council will allow a plan to come forward and to have that community discussion. And I just wanted to touch, certainly a lot of respect for Mr. Lesher. I didn't get a copy of his, whatever he submitted. I'd asked for copies. I'm sorry I didn't get that one. But just 2 points. One, on the point of co-locating, that's a good point. But, you know, there are other businesses, and again, this isn't an application for a specific site, but I know there's been a lot of discussion of my client's site, and, you know, Tractor Supply, and there's a restaurant, a vacant restaurant there, and some other businesses, and some other opportunities. So I think, you know, there could certainly be co-location and help of other businesses if a plan came forward. We don't know, because we don't have the details. And I think that, again, makes the point, I think Mr. Lesher said, a more compelling proposal will come forward. We're not in a position to submit a proposal. That's all we're trying to do, is to get in a position where someone can submit a proposal for your consideration and consideration by the public. So please adopt the ordinance. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to bring anything, any comments before the council before we close the public hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Gentlemen, do you have any comments regarding the ordinance?
I do. I'll read it. A number of people have responded to the public comment regarding the proposed ordinance 756. Many of them incorrectly state that the purpose of this ordinance is to approve the construction of a Home Depot. The purpose of this ordinance is to propose a pen and ink change to create a definition for home improvement center. If passed, it would only allow the council to review through the PUD process. A proposal for a new home improvement center is that larger than the maximum $65,000 on commercially zoned property in the town, not the county. In many of the comments, the town of Easton, not Talbot County, comp plan is referred to as something along the lines of the Holy Grail. The plan is actually 30 years old, and the initial plan on this now expired plan began in 2007 and was published in 2010. The intent was for it to cover a 6-year period. It was designed to be replaced in 2016. After it was published, the state reduced the requirement for updates from 6 to 10 years. The plan was not changed to allow for this major increase in time. In other words, the now expired plan was conceived in 2007, approved in 2010. The prognosis is for 2022 or 23 for the new one to be created. In other words, those who keep on waiting to defer this plan are deferring it to 16 or 17-year-old ideology. The town of Easton has made great strides since 2007, and the comp plan should reflect that. It's too late. We are already a regional shopping destination. The plan actually suggests essentially that we run out of options. Once we run out of options for the possible regional scale retail stores in or adjacent to existing shopping centers, we should then look to existing commercially zoned properties in town, i.e. not to non-commercially zoned properties or properties not in town that we would have to annex. There are only 2 parcels where this can occur, contrary to previous testimony of 10 to 11. One only has to look at the Waterside Mall on the west of Marlborough Road to see how ineffective the expired comp plan was. The more attractive shopping areas are those older ones which have been remodeled. The commercial area between Route 50, U-Haul, and Olive Garden is clearly the most attractive
commercial area in town. I think the argument against, oh, it's the wrong one. Finally, there is a perceived notion that the town of Easton determines which businesses can go to locations, certain locations, like the old Safeway lot. It is not the town's responsibility to determine which businesses go where. If a certain business meets planning and zoning rules, they can pretty well place whatever the business they wish on that property. The Easton Economic Development Commission does recruit businesses to come to Easton, but that is based more on viability and job creation than as to a specific business. Everybody wants a Trader Joe's, but they don't want us.
Anyone else have comments?
Sure. First of all, thanks, Ron, because Mr. Engle, I think what you said, you made some good points there. Those who want to think that the town of Easton is still a quaint small town from the past are ignoring reality. Easton is growing and becoming a hub for commerce on the mid-shore, as Mr. Engle also pointed out. The question, therefore, isn't whether or not development will come to Easton. The question is, what form will it take? In my opinion, we currently have a mechanism for answering that question with the comprehensive plan. As a result, I think any current proposal should follow the comprehensive plan that is in place, and I believe that the new comprehensive plan, beginning to take shape this year, should look seriously at where a large home improvement store can go.
Anyone else? If not, I'm happy to share my concerns. My main concern is that this text amendment sets a precedent for future development to amend the current zoning language to fit their desire. Mr. Bone, Chairman of the Planning Commission, mentioned a similar concern during his comments at our last meeting. And Mr. Smith has clearly stated that his client was approached by a developer specifically about his property on the east side of Route 50. I feel that by approving this ordinance will open the door to other retail developers to do the same thing. There was also talk about at various times that by allowing this text amendment to go through, it would allow a project to be presented and given the community opportunity to consider the proposal. When I was writing this, it was about 4 o'clock this afternoon. I finally turned my email off. And since then, I've received before then, I received 95 emails about this ordinance. The breakdown was basically 13 or 14% were for the text change, and 82 of them, or 86%, were against it. While 95 is a much smaller number of comments compared to other topics we've discussed in the past, overwhelmingly the comments were for this to be addressed during the comprehensive plan rewrite, which is scheduled to begin this year. During the last rewrite, there were roughly 850 people involved, which shows that the comprehensive plan process is the correct venue for the community to consider, not just this proposal for the specific location, but for the general idea of big box stores within the town of Easton. During the comprehensive plan rewrite, the impact of traffic and other issues can be addressed there. Mr. Smith related to one thing you mentioned in a memo to Mr. Thomas, that the text amendment should be allowed unless objectors simply do not trust their elected officials, their elected leaders to act in best interest of the public. I feel that the responses we've learned and heard from the public with the unanimous vote from the Planning Commission and the start of the rewrite of the comprehensive plan to begin shortly, that I can't vote for this ordinance and feel that the topic should be discussed during this year's comprehensive plan rewrite. Anyone else?
Is it my turn?
If you'd like.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Silverstein.
Okay. So I've been in the community a little over 20 years. Have heard this discussion on every project that's ever been proposed. As far as Easton is going to become this, Easton is going to become that. We have to have higher standards. And I agree, we have to have higher standards. And we have had higher standards. Our planning commission, to their credit, and previous planning commission, have made sure that buildings are built by retail developers that are different than the norm. They have to be brick, they have to meet certain specifications. And if you remember, we turned Legal down as a council because they were not willing to meet our specification. They wanted to bring their corporate store in, and we said no. The particular location was plotted for 2 lots, and we said it just didn't meet the requirement. As I've watched the town grow over the last 20 years, Highway 50 continues to divide our community, unfortunately. And what we're seeing is our residential development is moving to the east. We don't have a lot of land left on the west side for commercial development. You've seen redevelopment of some of the existing shopping centers that are not available to bring in something like a Home Depot. And more, I see the need for additional retail development, especially when you're looking at property that was designated as commercial property. The concern is making sure that in any development in our community has minimal impacts on residents adjacent to it. It's built to high standards, that the roads, if they have to be upgraded, are paid for by the developer, and that we have something that we're proud of. I've received a number of emails too, both pro and con. And the feeling that I get, especially in the building community, is that there is a need for a Home Depot. That Lowe's provides some services, other businesses provide other services. We have a great small town hardware store that provides a lot of good things. I use them all the time, but they don't carry refrigerators. They don't carry washers. So people are looking for opportunity. One of the concerns we had many years ago was about the environment. And how many people do we push in a car and have them drive to Salisbury or have them drive to Delaware because they can't find the goods and services they want here? I want to see as many people stay in the community. If they buy one thing, hopefully they'll continue to buy other things in the community. And that's why the other thing that concerns me is we used to have a 6-year process for the comprehensive plan. And then the state arbitrarily moved it to 10 years. I would challenge you to ask any business, any organization, if they do a 10-year plan, and say, and now we're not going to stray from that. We're not going to do anything different for the next 10 years. Because that's not the way the world is. Things change constantly. And that's why we've had other amendments to the comprehensive plan. And that's why I'm going to vote in favor of this particular resolution.
I'd like to say that I received more than one email for the last 2 days on both sides of this discussion. I've done my due diligence in reading and hearing the comprehensive plan. On several occasions, there have been some changes to that plan. So it is not a plan in which that was etched in stone and no one went contrary to what was written. I am of the feeling that this ordinance does not guarantee any business being built in the city of Easton. This is just to change some verbiage in language, and I would hope and pray that this be considered because from an economic point of view, that if it came to fruition, it would afford minorities, people who look like me, and other people in the community a job, and I think that's essential. Economic development is essential. If we vote tonight, I will be in favor of it.
call. We have ordinance number 756, eligible for a vote, an ordinance of the Town of Easton amending the Town of Easton Zoning Ordinance to add the use home improvement center and exclude it from the maximum size limitation applicable to major retail uses.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Mrs. Ruff?
Mr. Silverstein?
Aye.
Mr. Abbatiello?
No.
Mr. Engle?
Yes.
Reverend Davis?
Yes.
President Cook?
No.
3-2.
All right. Next, we have the approval of invoices totaling $1,027,533.43.
I so moved for approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Does anyone have anything else to bring to the council tonight? Does anyone else have anything to bring to the council tonight? Yep.
Good evening, my name is Kimberly, I was here in December.
Yeah.
You guys remember me? I have another problem now. I have been on, my job was quarantined, and I was parked right out here. My job called me on a Thursday night, told me not to leave my house per the health department in Queen Anne's County and per their CDC. I could not leave my house. I didn't want to jeopardize anybody, so I was stuck working from home on Friday. And on that particular Thursday, the, what do they call them, the parking attendants? Is that what they, parking attendants or meter maids, whatever you call them, she eyed me. And I could see myself being targeted, to be honest with you, and I knew something was gonna happen, but I had to obey the law of staying in my house. So in the meantime, I have now received a $25 ticket, even though I was quarantined. I'm an essential worker, and my tags are getting ready to be renewed this month. I'm stuck, everyone. I'm stuck. This was what I was trying to prevent. This is exactly what I was trying to prevent, and yet it happened. And now I'm back at the council again asking for help. I see what you guys are doing, or the council is doing, as far as law enforcement, as far as bringing revenue to Easton, but what about the resident, the voter who voted and believed in everything that you all stood for? I believed in it. I feel like nobody's helping me because these are gonna add up. And yet, I could not leave my house. My job told me to stay put, do not leave until we find out whether or not it's safe for you to go anywhere. What, I need help. I need help.
Ms. Wilson, I know that we actually spoke about at the beginning of the meeting. I know the mayor had mentioned that they're still working on a plan on this, and it's come up again. So it's still in motion. We haven't forgotten about you.
Okay. So in the meantime,
In the meantime, here's what I'll do. Leave the ticket with Mr. Richardson. I'll pay your ticket, and hopefully you'll be in a position where you won't have to get another ticket.
Thank you, sir, and I do appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you. Will I be contacted when you do find a solution of some sort? Will you contact me, sir?
Pardon?
Will you contact me when you do find a solution?
Yes, will.
Thank you.
Probably before, because it's gonna be a while, but we'll get back to you.
Thank you. I appreciate
For
you
sure.
I appreciate you contacting me.
Because I've got your phone number.
I believe you do, but I'll leave it with you again tonight.
That's okay. I've got your phone number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Is there anyone else? All right, items by council. Mr. Silverstein.
I just want to thank everybody who commented on some of the proposed legislation. It was very helpful. I want to thank the staff. I had replacement knee surgery, and they were able to Zoom me in, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate via Zoom. With my fellow council members, I know that things are not always easy to vote on, but I do appreciate how well we work together and how we move forward for this particular issue.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to agree with Al on that. I think I mean, even though we all didn't agree on tonight's decision, I think the fact that we can discuss it and discuss it, with one another and be respectful of each other's decision is, I think, a great plus for this council. So I really appreciate that. Even though it didn't go the way I was hoping it would go, I still have a lot of respect for everybody up here, and I really appreciate you guys listening to all the people in the community. So thank you.
Well, I was going to say something else, start. I think the beauty of our particular council right now is we're really diverse. We all come from different places, and we can work together. And I think that's important for everybody. But I wanted to congratulate everybody on the work on the 6128. It looks like it's coming close to closure. I know there are a lot of emotions and things involved. From what I've last seen, I think we've pretty much covered all the issues that were up, and I think it's through everybody's talked to people, worked with people, we've taken their ideas. I think we've improved our liability situation. We will improve our liability situation, and there will be no harm come to the employees when the thing is final.
I just want to thank Megan for her leadership and leading this council, and I concur with Don. I mean, we may not agree on some things, but we still work together as a collective body, and I think that's important that we work together, work closely, and I want you guys to know that I do hear and listen to things that are being said. I do have some difficulties, Don, sometimes because you're a teacher, and I wasn't like the best student in the class, so I get, I think I'm in detention down here. But I just think the whole, even, the mayor, I thank the mayor for inviting me to breakfast this week. What? Okay, he didn't know anything about that. I'm just making it up. But I just want to thank everybody for working together, and really helping me to be a part of this council, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you, Don, that you even started off the meeting, and recognizing that this month is Black History Month, and utilizing a quote that resonates in my spirit. So thank you.
Well, gentlemen, I'm not going to repeat everything you said because everything was great, but I do concur. I think we are 5 different people who look at different issues 5 different ways, and that's what we're here for. But I appreciate everyone's opinion and perspective on things, and yes, I think we do work well together. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? All right, have a good night, everyone.